Hey, welcome back to ShredMentor Live. I'm your host, Jason Aaron Wood, and tonight we're going to be talking about all kinds of things regarding a shred practice or training routine, really. Kind of one and the same, really, because the way we're going to approach actually training you to do it is going to affect how you practice. So I want to talk to you a bit about what that actually entails, since I've done the really ridiculously long trial and error method. It sucks, and you shouldn't do it, and just take it from me, that's a very bad idea, and that's a big part of why I started this school in the first place. So we're really getting to the heart of what ShredMentor has always been about. All right, I think one of the first things we should talk about is gear, though. Okay, so why don't we talk a little bit about gear tonight? And yeah, be sure to let me know in the chat that you can hear me, because that would be swell if you can. And yeah, I think the big thing here is, like, you don't want your gear to get in the way. And I think that's one of the things we want to make sure we don't do. You don't need the best gear out there. You just need something that will function and do what it needs to do, which is stay in tune, be able to adjust the intonation. Hey Mike, good to see you, man. Thank you for verifying you can hear me. Awesome. So yeah, your guitar needs to stay in tune. It needs to have adjustable intonation, you know, so it can't be so bottom of the barrel that you can't do that. And in general, if you're going to take your guitar playing as far as you possibly can, even if you don't learn every, in and out of how to repair your guitars, because I'll be honest, I really don't either, there are a few things you should be able to do that, first of all, have more than one guitar. I'll say it now, it's really important to have one more guitar at least. Just something else, a backup, even just as a player, because if something happens to your main guitar, you're without a guitar. So you need to be able to keep playing if you're going to take your playing as far as it can go. So that said, I think my most expensive guitar is like $1,500, and that's not nothing, but I kind of refuse to go beyond that like $3,000 threshold. Honestly, I'm probably not going to go beyond the $1,500 threshold. There are some guitars I have had my eye on in the $2,000 range, but I've built my whole career on guitars that cost less than that, and I just know for a fact I don't really need that. And honestly, I don't know. Maybe 10, 15 years ago, I used to say, you just don't spend below $200, because then you're going to be spending $200 again, at least later on. My least expensive guitar, incidentally, cost me $200. It was used, so normally it would have been $300 new. They still make the model. It's an LTD M107 FM, I believe it's called. It's super, okay, kind of bare bones, but it is 24 frets. It's bolt on. It's got a Floyd Rose special on it. This was before the end of the whatever the trademark for the Floyd Rose patent. So anybody can just make one that says Floyd Rose on it now. Hey Matthew, good to see you, man. Thank you for verifying as well. Mike says I'm at 15 to 1,800 tops for a custom made, and that's for a custom made, I kind of expect it to be crazy, but maybe it's because the only places I've ever looked for a quote for a custom guitar were like ESP, and that was like $5,000, and I'm talking like 2004. So I don't even know what they cost now. I don't want to know. I'm holding one of their lower end ones, which is LTD, and I personally, that guitar I mentioned before, that's an LTD. That's the one I figured, if their $200 guitar or whatever $300 guitar plays like that, then hey, count me in. So I've got quite a few of these now. It needs to serve your purposes though, okay? So whatever gear you're going to play needs to do what you need it to do. And for me, all of my guitars are like different tools in the toolbox. Yeah, they all kind of do essentially the same thing, but not really. This guitar, I don't need it for everything. This has 8 strings. I don't need that note all the time. But one thing I will say though, as you get more strings, I could use this guitar for everything. I can strum 6-string chords. still got a 6-string right in there. It's there, you know. So, you know, the more strings you have, the more guitars you sort of have right there, and you can tune them however you want. So, I mean, one thing I was kind of thinking about in terms of the gear and what to talk about on the Gear Talk segment tonight is I've noticed that, like, so when I had a 6-string and then I got a 7-string, it made the 6-string easier. And then a while later, when I got an 8-string, it made my 7-string easier. And then last year, when I got a 10-string, it makes my 8-string. I'm just messing around my 8-string. Like, I'm not lost on this instrument anymore, like I was for quite a while. So the more strings you get, the less confusing fewer strings are, no matter how many more strings they are than other people might have. So, you know, just it's all perspective. But I have found that it does make a lot of what you're doing easier when you have a wider range to kind of play around with. You start to get used to it after a while. And, yeah, only 8. It's like you're just kind of playing off of your own psychology a little bit. Now that I've experienced what 10 strings is like, this is far less overwhelming. So, again, this is not the tool for everybody. So, I mean, I'm obviously a big fan of extended range instruments. So, I'd say 7-string is kind of normal. It's nice to just have a 7-string on hand, especially if your 6-string happens to have a Floyd Rose on it, because then retuning is a big pain in your ass, and if it's a big pain in the ass, you're probably not going to do it, at least most of the time. Eventually, you're going to be like, no, I'm not doing that anymore, but like I once did. So having extra guitars is a nice thing to have, you know, just food for thought. That way, again, staying on topic here, if you're trying to push your playing as far as it could possibly go, you kind of need to not be taking breaks in between. Be returning your hands to the strings every single day, even if it's not the ideal of like an hour a day. I mean, technically, science speaking here, science time. Oh yeah, I guess we should do practicing for results for that one. But yeah, science time here, okay? The studies as far as optimal concentration, okay, that would be 52 minutes on, 17-minute break. That's basically the results, okay? People have studied how long people can maintain optimal concentration. It's 52 minutes. And then 17 minutes break, and then you can go back and do another 52 minutes if you want. But if you really want to, and this is funded by like workforce type studies too. So I mean, people who want to get the most out of their workers put their money behind this study. So you can find this anywhere, but optimal concentration time, 52 minutes. That way you'll find the study I'm referring to. It's cited all over the internet at this point. It's been around for several years now, but it's not that old. I think in the last decade and a half. So human evolution is a little slower than that. It should be fairly accurate still. And for our purposes, we're doing something that is also a bit fun. So let's not forget, we can round that to an hour and get a lot done in that amount of time, because we are concentrating. You do want to be concentrating on what you're doing as you do it, okay? And that's a big part of what we're going to talk about tonight, but basically just not stopping and taking whole days off, because every time you go to sleep, you start to forget things. Sleep is something I forget. I think this was in an advertising book at this point, but I think, anyway, it referred to sleep as the great mind eraser, and that really rung true with me. I find that really, you know, when you take a day off of practicing, that means that you slept twice since the last time you practiced. And that's just one day. You slept the night after you practiced, and then you slept the next night when you didn't practice. You have double erased what you would have retained. You know, so just keep that in mind. Really take that to heart, because it is, I've never heard anything more true when it comes to consistent progress. And for that sake, you know, on that note, progress itself is kind of an illusion, to be honest too, because we look back and see progress. Progress is just a bunch of separate epiphanies, though. Individual aha moments when something clicks and now you can do more because you just gained a new perspective. So it's a series of breakthroughs, and so we need to be practicing in such a way that you can consistently keep making these breakthroughs so that you can get what we refer to as progress. You know, anyway, I just wanted to talk a bit about that, because this whole, you know, I this whole thing has kind of been, you know, this whole episode tonight is sort of going to be a practicing for results episode. But I'm going to talk a bit now about some of the elements here. Like I've listed 9, but I realize I missed a lot. But a lot of you are probably tuning in having seen the question I asked today, both in email and on Facebook and wherever else I might have contacted you. Basically, is your current practice routine equipped to take you all the way, or is there a built-in plateau that you're going to have to deal with at some point? And most of the people I see, understandably, have missed something, and there is a built-in plateau. The problem is that the cards are unfortunately stacked against you until you've gotten where you're trying to go, because until you've figured out what really works, you don't know what works, and so you're going to try things that sound logical, and especially when those things that are, that sound logical enough are things just everybody says. There must be some truth to them. Everybody says that. Well, listen to how everybody plays before you listen to everybody when it comes to advice. So, hey Scott, how's it going? I'm sorry, you know what? I realize I've seen a bunch of comments I missed here. Kiesel, I have Carvin. I never got a Kiesel yet. I have a Carvin 6-string fretless bass and a Carvin 7-string guitar. Fantastic guitars. I'm sure that has continued since they became Kiesel and modified their look all over the place. But I've played a couple that are used in the store, so I'm not just assuming, frankly. I've never played a Solar, but I'm hearing a lot of good things about them, and I'm hearing a lot of good material recorded with them. So maybe one day I will grab one of them as well. Like wide, thinner necks. 16-inch to 20-inch neck radius. Ibanez. Yeah, immediately when you said wide, thinner necks, I thought of Ibanez. For a long time, that was my taste too. I do think it's very important to note that it's always a personal preference. It does make it nice, and if you're comfortable with that, that is a great neck to have, and Ibanez is built to be a shred machine, so not disagreeing with you. I stopped playing Ibanez when my only Ibanez started to make my hand hurt because of the flatness. And actually my 10-string has that kind of a flat neck on it, so it's a little bit odd to get used to, because ever since I started getting LTD guitars, the necks are just a little less flat. There's a little bit more of a curve, and that's sort of what I've gotten used to. And so I no longer have any Ibanez guitars, and that's just on me. But anyway, whatever you're comfortable with is going to need, I would be consistent about it. And actually, that's one thing, another moment of gear talk here. This guitar, this 8-string, is sort of an anomaly when it comes to 8 strings, because most 8-string guitars go beyond a 25.5-inch scale length, and it can tend to lead to brighter, clearer sounding notes. My low F sharp, frankly, clear enough to my ears. I did an entire album with this guitar in 2017 called Emanations, and I don't know, go to jasonaaronwood.bandcamp.com, check out my Emanations album. You tell me after this show if you think that it's not clear enough. I don't know. It's not, when I listen to it now, I've learned how to mix better, so maybe there's something, maybe I'm walking right into a trap here of my own making. But anyway, let's talk about shred training. And Scott, that's what we're already working on, so this will be relevant to you too. Spoiler alert for you though, Scott, is that it's already built in. So we're already doing this, but it should be some good food for thought, and I'll be referring to parts of the website for a lot of this stuff, to be honest. So speaking of that, let's go over to Guitar Practice Tools. And yeah, so where is it, right? I need to actually load the Guitar Practice Tools page for it to show up here, and ta-da, there it is. Okay, so here we go. So this is sort of the beginning of it. I just need that to load. Anyway, the very first thing you need here, and if you're going to practice for shred, okay, we're going to need to shift some of the thinking. Not all of it. I don't know what you're thinking when you practice, and that is going to be one of the things I sort of want to ascertain as we go, because, and in fact, generally, when I meet somebody for the first time, before I'm actually even working with them, I ask you, so when you practice, what does that look like? What does that consist of? Because I want to kind of get inside your head. I don't want to assume that you are or are not thinking things that you should, but I want to make sure that the perspective is there to focus on what matters, right? And so understanding that is kind of first, but before we even do that, having clearly defined goals. This is a newish tool that I've created in the last month or so on the ShredMentor website within the Guitar Practice Tools realm here. And essentially, this is a result of something else. I didn't really actually do the assignment on my user account. Basically, I have a bunch of other crap that's all over the page when I'm in my admin view. So this is something that I sort of set up for students in the Total Artist Development System to kind of rate how well they feel they do different skills. And essentially, it creates this My Skill Stats. And in fact, if you already have access to guitar practice tools, you can find that that's actually right down here on the Guitar Practice Tools menu. All right, so that said though, once you've done this rating system, okay, and this is somewhere in the, actually it's in the technique and vocabulary section. There's a whole section just based on basically all of the techniques, describing what they are, demonstrating how they're done, giving demonstration of what they sound like, what sounds they're made, what sounds they're used to make and stuff like that. And I'll see if it'll load on me. I've been getting 503 errors because I'm trying to load so many tabs at once, but we'll see what happens here. But anyway, once you've gone through and done that, it's going to tell you which ones you actually ranked lowest. It's going to help you sort of prioritize, because the thing is, like, clearly defining your goals. It's not clearly defining is not I want to play really good. Okay, of course you want to play really good. You wouldn't be here if you didn't. Okay. Everyone, in fact, wants to play really good, okay? That's a given, and it's the first thing you want when you decide, I want to play guitar too. You imagine yourself being really good. Let's be honest. I think we all have that perhaps naive first impression of how it's going to go, because we see people playing fantastically, and they make it look so easy, and then we pick up the guitar, and like, wait a minute, this thing doesn't work anything like what I thought it did. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And immediately we adjust our expectations. And unfortunately, we tend to settle a bit for a lot less. But the thing is, don't just define your goal as I want to get really good. Like, sometimes it can be helpful to, not everybody works best to assume or to start with their weaknesses, okay? Because it can feel a little bit demotivating. Dwelling in your weaknesses doesn't exactly cheer you up. It doesn't really necessarily get everybody motivated. It can be a motivation tool for some people to take action, but it's a little negative feeling. It doesn't make us feel our best, and doing the things that we do the best on the guitar do tend to make us feel really good, which is how we end up in a comfort zone trap. But that said, okay, outside of that though, one of the things that we can do is look at our favorite guitarists and get really specific about what we like about their playing. And again, it might be everything, but fight the urge to make your answer, well, everything, because obviously everything, but what specifically? What do you maybe prefer about, start comparing guitarists, not in a who's better, but who's better at this, whose alternate picking do you like? Whose rhythm guitar playing and riffing style do you like the most? Who has the best legato? And this is where your subjective opinion counts for everything, because this is you're sculpting yourself on. You're going to cherry pick the things from specific people. So whose vibrato do you want? Like, go shopping for other people's vibrato. Model your vibrato or your legato, or whatever it is that you're going to be doing. Model it on your guitar heroes, because that's what they did too. That's what they could, and eventually they just have their own sound and their own style, and then they can modify just what they have based on what they imagine. But until you get there, you've got to start with something. Model on other people's stuff, and it doesn't all have to be one guitarist. Pick who you think is the best. I love a lot of specific bands and musicians, but I don't necessarily want to play like them. But I have picked the ones that I do want to play like. And also I've flexed my writing and playing and stylistic muscles a bit and learned different styles, because I want to be able to play different things I like, and I don't want to be stuck in one particular realm. Matthew's saying, Petrucci fanboy here. Okay. So Petrucci can also do everything, right? But he does have a very distinctive style. And I don't blame you. I also am. That was one of my biggest influences at the most important part when I was starting playing guitar, and I think I'm a diehard fan of I want to say the first 3 albums, because I pretend that When, Dream, and Day Unite doesn't exist. vocals, I just can't get past them, sorry. But anyway, the first 3 James LaBrie albums, especially Images and Words, that was just a life-changing album for me, and it still gets regular rotation. But Awake and A Change of Seasons, I think those 3 are kind of like my holy trinity of Dream Theater albums, and I have no problem with the musicianship, but I don't think the music really spoke to me after that, although keyboard-wise it clearly got even better, but just lost me. Anyway, yes, I think that John Petrucci's chord vocabulary is a fantastic example of that, you know, because, I mean, just he really knows what he's doing in terms of that, and it keeps it really, really interesting. And so, as a writing style, look for that kind of thing in people's playing too, because it overlaps. Your what they play like and what they play, and that is their vocabulary as well, and it's going to show up in their music. So really sculpt. I mean, like, seriously, just go down the list of all the techniques you can think of. And again, if you actually have access to, I guess this is not going to load, is it? I'm going to try something here real quick, since it's just kind of hanging every. Let's see if that just bypasses the loading. It's probably just going to 503 error. Anyway, though, we'll get there eventually. I'll wait for it to load so that we have something to look at. But anyway, yeah. So clearly defining your goals. That's what I mean. Do not settle for your answer being, I want to get really good. No shit. Obviously, you want to get really good. That's not going to be. That answer isn't going to get you there, though. Right, so get really, really, really specific. Go shopping for your favorite elements of your favorite players, and if one player has all of it, go ahead and model right off of it. As far as finding your own unique sound, I do recommend shopping elsewhere too. Try not to get too much from one particular place. So Mike is saying Nuno Betancourt, Paul Gilbert, Frank Gambale. Yes. Excellent examples. Now dig deeper. What do you prefer about Nuno's blank? Fill in the blank here over Paul Gilbert and Frank Gambale. Or what do you prefer about Paul Gilbert? What is it? What's the appeal? Try to pinpoint, and it doesn't have to be singular, but try to pinpoint specifically what in their playing. If you could just download it like the Matrix, just specific elements of their playing, and make this Frankensteinian version of it that is you. What would those elements be? Use pen and paper. Don't try to juggle all this crap around in your head. That's not going to be good. Put it where you can see it. Or put it where you can hang it up on your wall and look at it again, where it can evolve in your head, and new thoughts from looking at it bounce around in your head. And then put them on paper. Get this stuff out of your head where you can look at it. This is all part of clearly defining your goals. Another thing that is also built into this system, Scott, since you're already watching and you're already enrolled, this is something that you can actually look at now. But if you go up in here to the Start Here section, there is a section called, no, it's not in there. My mistake. Songwriting and recording, and from studio to stage. There is actually a specific video I suggest you watch a little later on, where it's actually about vision boarding and using what's normally a graphic artist or video artist tool called PureRef. It's a vision boarding idea, but it's about, essentially it's kind of what we're talking about right here, clearly defining your goal through the sounds of different artists, different albums, using pictures, because we tend to think in images, especially even though we're thinking about music. When you see that image of that guitarist or that album or whatever, the name of the song or whatever, you can put all kinds of stuff into the software and have it save the images so that you can look at it on the screen and just sort of like brainstorm what you're trying to achieve. The more angles that you approach this from, the better. And I know I'm spending a lot of time on number one, but this is sort of where it all starts. If you don't have clear goals, what do you hope to achieve? You're just going to be wandering aimlessly still or again. That's exactly what happens. This is what most people practice like too. I guess I'll do a little of this, and then you do it for like 5 minutes, and then the phone rings and you get distracted because you let yourself answer it and prioritize that thing and external sources. This is everybody. Okay, if this is not true for you, kick ass, because you're actually one of the few. Most people are surrounded by distractions. Their whole environment while practicing is filled with external distractions, as if you didn't have stray thoughts to fight off already. So get rid of that stuff too, right? But that's the thing. Wandering aimlessly is what it leaves you with. If you don't have clearly defined goals right in front of you where you keep remembering what they are, that's actually something else built right into this system here. One of these. Nope. There it is. That's the page. This is the basic, the very, very, very simple basic practice routine that is built right into all of the guitar practice tools pages on one part of the page or another. It might be, so it won't be here because that's just the main menu. But let's see, right here, it's just very easy to miss, but it's there. It's just a checklist, because if you don't have it to look at, how are you going to remember what to do? I guess I missed a page for that. This is the practice randomizer. I guess, really, how do you put this on your practice routine? But anyway, having it on most pages at least, I guess I need to find a place to squeeze this in on these pages. Anyway, regardless, this is what I'm talking about. Having it right there where you can see it, like that. This is going to take this to a whole new level of depth where it's actually going to start to get kind of meaningful. We always look at our influences and we list them all the time, and we don't really look at what it is that makes us moved by them. Borrow what they do, Malmsteen, Satriani, Vi. Yeah. Malmsteen is where I got some of my vibrato in particular, some of my phrases too. Satriani is where I got some of my phrasing. Paul Gilbert is also where I got some of my phrasing. So I'm seeing like a lot of this kind of thing. These are my influences too. Petrucci, this is where I got my modeling for how I want to play when I play fast and how I want to keep it interesting, although I have a very different style and approach. I tend to be a lot more harmonic minor based in my stuff, which puts me, you can hear the Malmsteen influence there, and others. Bach. Yngwie's influences are my influences. It's not just Yngwie himself. Okay, so anyway, clearly defining your goals. I want to clearly define what clearly defining your goals really means, because most people, what they think that is not even close. So you need to dig really, really deep. And actually there is, if you can think of every single technique, just think of everything your fretting hand does. Just make a list on a separate piece of paper. List all of the different techniques that your fretting hand does. So you have just hammer-ons, pull-offs, slides, vibrato, bends. Just keep going. Use your mind. Okay, think through everything you can think of that the fretting hand has to do. Not don't worry about like theory stuff. Think of physical techniques. Think physical things your hand has to do to create a certain kind of sound. And then do the same thing with all the different things the picking hand has to do. And that includes every type of picking technique: alternate picking, economy picking, sweep picking, tapping, fingerstyle picking, hybrid picking, swibrid picking, and so on. Everything that your picking hand also has to do, and that'll give you a fairly complete, fairly comprehensive list. I'm sure you, like anybody, you might forget something. I probably have too, but I've done this and I built a course around it. And maybe one day that friggin' tab will actually load where you can see it. Anyway, though, not this moment. Anyway, all right, we're going to move on to number 2 now. Okay, so I just want to be really clear though about defining your goals and how deep you need to go with that. Do not settle for anything even remotely vague. Get really specific. Number 2 is a multifaceted practice strategy. Okay, winging it. As I was sort of just saying a moment ago about just wandering aimlessly from one thing to another, which is what most people do when they practice. That's not going to cut it. Don't wing it. You need. All right, again, I want to be really clear. Okay, to shred, we think a lot about the speed side of this. Okay, because that's that's the thing that gets our attention, but the appeal of playing fast is because you're doing it with absolute control. It makes us go, wow, they have control at that speed. I can't even think that friggin' fast. That's the appeal. So it's not just speed. It is intensity. They're playing with control faster than most of us can think. And they're doing it with cleanly and with expression. Okay? No matter what they're playing. That's sort of, in other words, we're trying to get good at everything. Okay? And so, coming back to what I said, a multifaceted practice strategy. There's only so many hours in a day. And most of us have lives. So, you need to be able to do this in such a way that it actually allows you to cover everything. If you're going to get good at everything, you're going to need to cover that ground over and over again consistently. You need a system that's going to allow that to happen. It's not an easy task for most people, and it does require a pretty significant shift. But your practice itself does kind of evolve that way. So once you know how to practice, this is what I deal with ShredMentor. This is what this is about. And I mean, knowing what to practice initially isn't knowing what to practice a little later, because you have to kind of get used to, okay, remember how you practiced that? Okay, now we're going to do this and that. Remember those two things you used to practice? Now make them one exercise. Like something like that. There's one way that now one 10-minute thing accomplishes what it used to take 2 different 10-minute segments to do, because you have to introduce yourself to an idea somehow first, and everything you do needs to have quality time with it. So it is quite the epic juggling act. Luckily, I'm very familiar with this mindset and this process from having done it almost for 20 years now myself. So I know how to tweak it, and I've done a lot of the trial and error crap that was, some of it was wasted time, but luckily once I understood what I was supposed to do, a lot of the trial and error kind of fell by the wayside, because I understood a really big piece of it, especially the speed training part of it, which is very much part of what we're talking about here. You want to be able to do everything you do and also build speed, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, don't wing it, please. Write a list of the things that you feel that you need, and if you're not sure how to cover all of that in the time you have in the day, here I am. Go to ShredMentor.com, reach out to me, talk to me about this kind of thing, because that is what I do. This is what I've devoted my entire adult life to. Seriously, almost my entire adulthood, I've been doing this, like teaching it. So, and studying it even before that for at least 5 years before I started teaching. I was studying shredding and the art of doing all of this stuff pretty much full time, even when I was supposed to be working at my job. I just worked when someone was watching me. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the next thing, because this leads into the speed, but we're not there yet. Number 3 is effective, versatile practice tools, and we're looking at that right now. This is just one piece of it, getting this set up. This is a little bit of a overwhelming task here, and we're just looking at one facet of what we're actually adding to a practice routine here. But the tools themselves, oh, look, it loaded. There's all the practice. There you go. This is the thing that you go through and you rate your skill level. But this is also just a quick primer on what all the techniques essentially are. I'm sure I might have missed 1 or 2 here, but basically this is everything your picking hand does, and that's everything your fretting hand does. That little exercise I mentioned a moment ago. It loaded. I'm so happy. Okay, so anyway, effective and versatile practice tools. There are many different ways to use the different tools on this site. So this is kind of the original guitar practice tool, the guitar practice whiteboard. This originated actually as part of my many classes, so it was built to be versatile. And that is any scale you might want to learn and learn how to play, and from any mode. Many different starting points and different kind of color schemes within that overall key, depending on what you're actually going to do. Oh, good. I'm glad that it went quickly for you, Scott, because I built it, and I just hope that other people are not having the problem I'm having. So it might just be my connection sometimes, but very good. And Mike, sorry, I missed your comment. Your idea never thought about writing down the difference between guitar style. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it makes all the difference. So, okay, so versatile. Okay, I taught all the different group classes I used to teach off of a tool like this. Like, all right, let's just put all the scales, and that way I can just feature it right there, and no matter how far I scroll down the thing, we have some drum beats that we can play along to right there. Or maybe we will have, well, let's go back to the top because I do have to go up a little higher, or we can have, oops, I screwed up that, that's not supposed to be that big, but I screwed something up there. Backing tracks, the drones, okay, yeah, really, I gotta work that out. That's not supposed to look like that, but anyway, I'll fix that. Sorry for those of you who have been using that tool. I know back when I did the chord progression tool, that was a result of that. I guess I modified the wrong view. Anyway, that'll be fixed soon. Oh, you know what? Let me hop over here real quick because I can't see that whole thing. Real Ryan 407 NJ2. Hi, I want to offer promotion of your channel. No, okay. Nope. You're out of here. No, don't spam my channel, please. Yeah. I think here's what I'm going to do. I am going to just hop right off of. Yeah, that should do it. I'm no longer streaming to Twitch, so that should get rid of that. Sorry, everybody. Let's just not waste any more time on that. Anyway, back here. Yeah. So anyway, practice tools, yeah. They're meant to be versatile. Whatever style you are going to try to play, you have a variety of different beats. All of the beats on the whole site are all here. In fact, this kind of contains most, like a good portion of, maybe not most, but a huge amount of the content on the site. And so for every scale, you get all of the different modes, so you can practice different shapes and different rhythmic ideas and melodies. And whoops, there's that. You know, and yeah, there's just lots of different stuff you can do just within each scale, and then finding little things like finding home bass, which is like sort of where is your root note in this particular scale. Finding this little 1 3 4 5 7 1 thing, a little box of 1 octave. Well, what about when we move up? Where is it that, oh, it moved up there, and look, these two notes are not lined up to the same fret anymore as the way they were here. And you know, just little things like just learning the nuances. Look here, it gets cut off. It doesn't really happen on a 6-string guitar perfectly at all in this mode, because here we are, this is where it would have gone. We can see where it's starting, but it's just like recognizing, where am I on the map of my fretboard? If you get more strings, it does complete, by the way. It's another benefit to that, right? But here's then the next one. There it is. It's complete. It's just moved up a string. And how many frets away is, oh, see there, this is no longer at the same fret. So just like little things like that. This is meant for all your fretboard knowledge. So if you're unclear about anything with scales, this is meant for that. But outside of that, you also have all of these other tools meant for different purposes. Okay, so I've given you a very versatile tool set, and I want you to use it because that's what it's for. I don't want anybody I work with using anything but the best possible tool for achieving the job. Okay, and that's why, as my student, you just get this. This is something that is a subscription product. It's just, you're going to have it for free if you're already paying me for lessons, because no student of mine is going to have anything less than this. Okay, and this is what I use too. This isn't just something I came up with so I can sell it. This is what I use when I practice too. I'm the guinea pig, and I think I turned out okay. Anyway, just saying. So yeah, you need effective practice tools, and specifically ones that are built for speed, because that is how you get control at higher and higher speeds. Is you need something that allows you to do that. To build speed systematically. Oh, I guess I unloaded the beats page, but yeah, this just for, I'll see if that loads real quick. But the beats page, that's just the same thing as we're looking at on, I'm sorry, that one. This, you just go slow, go faster, 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 faster until you max out, and then you work your way back down to somewhere in the middle. All of this has always been built for speed training. From day one, everything about the ShredMentor tools, from their earliest stages before that was a website and it was just my drum machine in a room, has always been for this. So, Anyway, real quick, let me take a look at something here. Oh, cool. Yeah, there. Still stuck on the page. Oh, good. Yeah, I got rid of that spammy comment. I just wanted to get rid of that. I was tired of looking at it. Okay. All right. So 4. This is where we get to the actual speed part. Okay. So I want to talk about the tools first, but you need a systematic, repeatable way to build speed in pretty much any and every area of your playing. Mike, I received an email from you, and when I opened it, time had expired. I wanted to inform you. If this was about the if this was actually about the Total Artist Development System, there was a limited promotion going on for that, but it is different pricing now, and it's established a little bit differently. You're still welcome to get in touch if that's, it's no longer the Black Friday one, but Mike, could you do me a favor, actually? Can you send me an email at info@shredmentor.com? Just say this is me, and I'm going to send you information back about that, because I have a live Facebook ad right now, but I don't want you to rely on... I don't frankly know who actually sees these, because they don't tell you, and the number of views on the actual landing page is far less than the number that they're telling me have seen it. So I think they're full of crap, and I would like to be able to send people who are actually interested in it the information. So, yes, please send me just send me an email at info@shredmentor.com after the show, or just right now if you want, just so that I have your email and I can get in touch with you directly. I think that'll be just a lot better. But yes, that email, if it's not that one, let me know what it was, and just tell me in the email, in fact. But still send me that email, just so that we have a line of communication. Anyway, so you do need number 4 then is a systematic, repeatable way to build speed. Okay, it's not what everybody says, but it's kind of what everybody says you're supposed to do to build speed is part of it. They just always miss a big part of it, which is what I said there as far as going through your different speeds. You start slow and you get faster gradually, right? Well, yes, but then there's more. So if you just do that, all you're doing is actually practicing getting sloppier and sloppier and sloppier until you just can't even do it anymore. And what do you do then? Do you go, well done me? Or do you work back to a little earlier at a slower pace where you actually had some control? Because remember, what are we working toward again? Control, right? So obviously the answer is choice B. We don't work up and then stop after we've reached our sloppiest point and call it a day. You're just practicing to play sloppy and be satisfied with it, which is, you're not doing yourself any favors doing that. Okay, so this is why we want to make sure that there's an arch to this. You go up, find the ceiling, and then come back down. Not all the way. Start easy, reach falling apart, but somewhere on the climb up there, you're gonna basically feel your muscles getting tired. That's tiring. You work your way up and then back down. And also, just to show you, you write it down. Easy, tiring, and falling apart. So this is where, I've just done 3 of them just to kind of show what it looks like and to test the tool itself. But I've got a few students in the Total Artist Development System using this right now, and I'm proud of you guys. Thank you for doing it. You should all do it if you're not doing it now. I know it just takes a couple extra seconds. It's a little extra step, but it makes such a big difference when you look back at what you've been doing. It also shows where you left off progress-wise with that particular thing, so that you have a number, a very solid number for how you're doing. All right, so be consistent, be a little bit detailed, so you actually know, well, if you did a sequence, what mode, what type of scale. Just throw it in the notes. That's what it's there for. Notes. What's the activity? Which sequence? Stuff like that. I use drop-down menus so you can just find what you need real quick. So take a peek at this ahead of time before you start practicing, so that the clock's not ticking while you're taken away from your practice time. But what beat did you use, so that you can also know kind of what rhythmic context did you actually do it in. Because if you're not doing it within a rhythmic context, how the hell are you even measuring what speed you're doing? Speed is rhythm. So let's not forget that, okay? So, and that is part of what makes it repeatable and systematic, is that no matter what you're doing, that's how you do it. Ramp up, come back down, and repeat it a number of times at the tiring speed. At least like 4 whole sets at tiring. All right, 1 time each on every speed on the way up. Gradually go back down. Use your psychology to your own advantage. It was so much harder, then just a little harder, then a little harder, then a little harder. So if I'm at 100, then I go 110, then 120 every time, 130 even harder, 140 even harder, 150. I'm falling apart. 140. Hey, that's actually easier than what I just did. Last time I hit 140, it was harder than the last thing I did. Now it's easier. 130. Oh, that's even easier. I'm going to just finish off at 130 if I can. And now you have more control. All right, so that's it. So no matter what you're trying to practice, that's how you build speed with it. No matter what. And there's my gift to you. You know, with or without my tools or my training, you can do that. That is how you build speed. I just put a tool set together to make it a lot easier so that you can get whatever you want with your playing from anywhere. Okay, so anyway, it all bleeds into each other, so we're going to be covering some of the same, visuals, at least, from time to time. Okay, so anyway, number 5. And this kind of touches on what we talked with number 2, a multifaceted practice strategy, but you need a way to piggyback multiple skills on each other in a single activity. All right, and I kind of touched on how that works, or one way it can work earlier, like take this thing you were practicing for 10 minutes the day before, and this other thing you were practicing right after it the day before, and now turn them into one constant exercise. You play them back to back with no stop. Of course, they need to be rhythmically compatible for that to flow in any musical way, which is why we use something like, the strategy. The practice strategy is also something that I have devised 45 different practice strategies so far. There's a book coming probably in the next couple of months where I do it, because it's also half written on the website with videos to come as well, kind of demonstrating each one of them. But the text part is pretty much there for all of them now. 45 different strategies for different types of goals. Smaller goals, and then more of a master strategy where they're all tied together depending on what you specifically need. So this is all kind of built into it, but there are certain strategies specifically for doing this. So yeah, purposely combining skills on purpose is one of those. Let's see, I have an example I wrote down here. Yeah, so again, you only have so much time in the day, just to reiterate that. So this is so that you can cover more ground when you do practice, because, you're still going to just suddenly dive bomb in terms of the quality of your concentration after about 52 minutes. So better make that time count by covering multiple skills. And so, yeah, so my example to myself here is theory and fretboard knowledge, and playing vocabulary and composition skill. So you can use that like basically within an improv setting, for example, or you can do what I kind of do sometimes, which is I'll just play the same thing over and over again, but I'm mentally going through the different aspects of my playing and how I'm playing it and how it sounds and the phrasing side of it and the speed of it and any string noise. I'm basically just going through with a proverbial clipboard, kind of spot checking everything about it, every conceivable aspect of what I'm doing, and my focus each time I do it is on a different aspect of it, or every set of times I do it. So I'm just kind of using it as a sort of an ironing board to just kind of get rid of any of the kinks. And so you can do that too. It's another way of doing that. And because almost anything you play is kind of going to have to involve at least 2 techniques. Unless you're just, an amputee and just, aside from like alternate picking or tremolo picking an open string, you're going to have to use some fretting technique too. So look for ways to purposely combine different skills on purpose. Look for, like, I'm going to purposely throw hammer-ons and picking and palm muting. In fact, one of the ShredMentor strategies that comes to mind, speaking of palm muting, is the 3 textures strategy. You don't need to practice legato and alternate picking and palm muting or selective palm muting. You can practice all of them together as one exercise. Just play exactly the same thing 3 whole times through without stopping. Play maybe 2 or 4 repetitions of the thing with legato, and then immediately, without stopping on the immediate next subbeat, same speed the whole way through, start picking every note for 2 or 4 repetitions, and then immediately go into continue picking, but with palm muting or selective palm muting, or selective unpalm muting of the accents, basically, is more like how that works out. And then cycle right back into it with legato right on the next beat. Don't stop at all. Don't put pauses between this. Make it one long cycling thing. That's 3 times as much ground you're covering in one single exercise. You just have to get creative about how you're going to do it. So anyway, number 6, you need a system that evolves with you, okay? There's a book called this, and it's been a saying since longer than that, but what got you here won't get you there, okay? There's a certain point when practicing what you're practicing sort of expires. It's not always going to be what you need to work on. It's what you need to work on now, okay? There's nothing is inherently sacred when it comes to what you're actually practicing. Your favorite thing is your favorite thing, and it can always be special to you, but it doesn't mean it's going to continue to yield results if you're practicing it 10 years down the line. So if you find yourself in the exact same skill level 10 years down the line and you're still playing the same thing, maybe we're looking at something here. Maybe there's a pattern we can look at. Okay, so what you practice needs to evolve with you. Okay, and so part of this is also the fact that how you practice a given thing. What is your focus in the first place? You know, I talked about techniques in particular. This is your playing. The thing we call your guitar playing, that's your technique, the playing part. So targeting techniques is a really good place to start, because that can be any color or any flavor depending on what kind of interval pattern or scale or arpeggio you decide to apply it to. That is sort of, doesn't matter what scale you use, because it's going to be how you approach it. And in fact, it does matter a little bit. In one way, it does. What you play all the time is what is going to become motor memory, and that is going to inform your technique. It's going to define your technique. What your motor memory is, the fretboard patterns that you memorize, is what you're going to be really good at. So if you're in the habit of playing really unmusical finger exercises, like 99% of the time, like sadly way too many guitarists do, that's what you're going to get good at. So maybe don't do that. And that's another one of the things that is among the ShredMentor strategies, by the way, is musical motor memory. Train your fingers, which are inevitably going to start doing their own thing, and you're going to play according with your fingers, regardless of the wisdom that we should try to play based on what our ears hear. Your fingers are going to take over sometimes, so you might as well train them with movements that make sounds that you want to hear in your music anyway. Use the scales that sound like what you want your music to sound like. If you like neoclassical stuff, start with harmonic minor and natural minor. If you like rock and blues type influences, go with minor pentatonic and bend into those blues notes, and some occasional Dorian, and maybe occasionally Aeolian, right? So like there's different scale combinations that tend to be stylistically based. So if you're hearing people in your style always talk about a certain scale, that's how you know what it is. So yeah, but anyway, or you know, again, if you're working with me, talk to me about it. I don't use all the scales, so don't make any mistake here. I don't know all the scales. I know maybe about 25 to 30 of them, and that's it. That's all the sounds I want to make. From there, it's just the chromatic scale anyway, to me. So I know I've reached the point where I know the sounds I want to make, and so a lot of them I've tried out. I don't want to make those sounds ever again. So you know, I've got the scale encyclopedias and all that. That's not what I'm trying to do. I mean, I can't play Chromatic Spider walking for a solo. But I mean, okay, Chromatic Spider could, as a composition, it can work. Just to play devil's advocate with myself, just playing with myself here. No, just playing devil's advocate here with myself. The composer in me knows that if I choose whatever the rhythmic number is that it's going to be, and I put a background note and write an accompaniment, then as long as you know, if it's something, I don't know, like whatever you're going to do there, right? So it was all fours though. I did 2, 1, 3, 4, right? But if I start at F, I could probably do F again, because there's a C there, and that's the fifth there. So I get all diatonic about it, and I might start to add chords or at least root notes in there. You could turn it into something, but yeah, probably not. Yeah, you know what I mean. Not generally, no. Unless it sounds like what you want. There's nothing wrong with having an outside sound sometimes. It's nice. It breaks the monotony. It gives the listener a surprise. These are good things in the right context and in the right proportion. So, sometimes, yeah, if you like it, play it. But yeah, in general, if it's all you play, then that's what your playing is going to sound like. And I know you don't want that sound. I know that you don't want that to be your sound. So, okay, a couple more here, and we got 5 minutes left, but I'm just going to keep going because I don't want you to miss out on this stuff. So yeah, you need a system that evolves with you. It needs to change as you go, and eventually what got you here isn't going to get you there. So you're going to have to know when to shift, when to start to introduce other things, when to start to piggyback different things on top of each other. Okay, so part of that is also right here on the screen here is sort of a pipeline that will take you even further than just the playing side of this. And it's right here on the screen. It's part of our menu here, but this is the pipeline here. It's a 3-pillar system. That's why the little pillar is there. That's a pillar, by the way, in case it's too small on your screen. That's a pillar, that's a pillar, and that's a pillar. It's a 3-pillar system that is the very backbone of the total artist development system. That is what this whole thing is. We have a major area of this, and that doesn't mean you need to complete it. It's not a thing to be completed to start at point A, go through point B, and end at point C, unless that's actually part of what your goals are as you clearly define them. So if, do you want to play really well? Do you want to be able to be fluent as an improviser, which is really composing on the spot? Or do you want to go all the way and record your own music and release it and, rinse and repeat? These all touch on each other. They all have areas of overlap, but that doesn't mean that you need all 3 of them. I'm not the one to tell you what your goals are, but that's part of it, right? Oh, awesome. Thanks, Mike. I saw you did send me an email. Cool. Awesome. So I'll get back to you. I have to go see to my son as soon as I'm done with this, make sure he's asleep, because I heard a lot of very loud screaming a few minutes before and during the show. So hopefully you didn't hear it. Anyway, he'll want to see me because I'm sure he's not asleep yet. Anyway, so number 7 is an intuitive approach to theory that equips you to understand what you're playing, why, and how it all fits together. Okay, so that's something that's lacking a lot with frankly most of the fretboard books that are out there, and this is why I'm just leaving this right on the page. I know that the colors and the shapes and the numbers can be a little bit like, what the hell am I looking at? I know that there are musicians who know theory who have seen my stuff and been like, what the hell am I looking at? This is my own system, okay, and it's a very basic thing, but what it is, first and foremost, is an effort to specifically not make every note represented by the same damn symbol. A black dot for every note in the scale is a disservice to you, the reader. Okay, it's a disservice. Imagine your spice cabinet having a bunch of bottles that are identical and unmarked. How the hell are you going to know? Are you going to open every one and go, what is that? Now you just smelled it. Now you've just experienced the ingredient. That's not what you're trying to put in the soup, So it's, just representing every note. They're different ingredients. Every note in the scale is a different ingredient with a different functional role to play in the overall harmony of the key. So making a black dot the symbol of literally every note is just asinine. I was going to say it. Screw every publisher and author that ever put a book out like that. It's personal now. No, seriously, it's just not helpful. Okay, so what this is, first and foremost, is an effort to not do that. So what we're using is a system that already exists, which is called scale degrees. Think of your scales as numbers, not letters. Obviously, the letter names of the notes are somewhat important, but you don't really need that. That's not helping you. The relationship between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 is infinitely more important than, let's see, B flat, C, D flat. Oh, screw that. Who gives a... I'm doing B flat minor. Who gives a crap what the names of the notes are? Pick a starting point, pay attention to what the root note is and maybe the 5th, and play the shapes. Ta-da! You're shredding. Or play it faster, then you're shredding. Okay, it makes so much more sense when you just stick to the scale degree numbers, because it doesn't matter what key you're in. This shape right here, 3-note per string harmonic minor scale, it's all in E minor on my site, but all you have to do is tune your guitar differently or transpose it, and you are in a different harmonic minor scale, as long as you keep the shape and the spacing intact. As long as that moves all together the same way, harmonic minor is a formula. It's a spacing pattern that makes it sound that way. Okay, so that's what this is. Now, the colors and the shapes. The colors exist solely so that the notes look different from each other. So if you see a red circle, doesn't matter where it is, that's the same note in the scale. Maybe it's a different octave, but it's the same note. If you see a green triangle, that's the third. Or so not green, I'm sorry, purple. If you see a green triangle, let me know, because I didn't make it green. That's a purplish color. Yeah, so the shape then, okay, so the color means absolutely nothing other than the one traditional thing I actually did here, which is keep red the root note. So slight kudos to the people, the authors and publishers who made scale books and at least used red or a different symbol for the root note. You're almost doing something nice for us. Thanks. I get a slightly less wrathful FU to those people, but it's too little too late. So red, root note. Other than that, none of those colors mean a damn thing. They're just meant to be different colors from each other. Okay. In fact, green, I guess, means a little something in terms of complementary colors in art. You know, red, well, green. So 5 and 4 are both different shades of green. That's it. That's all. Nothing else means anything. They're just meant to be different colors from each other. The shapes. This is where I'm going to just zoom in a little bit, because I want you to see something. How many sides are on this shape with 1? 1. How many sides are on this shape with 2? Yes, 2. I came up with a 2-sided shape. Yes. 3. How many sides here? So this is just a quick glance feature. Okay, that's what this is. The number of the scale degree inside the shape is also the number of sides of the shape. It's just a thing that you can do. Once again, it's another way to just at a quick glance, you know where your eyes need to be for this? Down here on your own guitar, the one you're playing. So just looking at it really quick, that's all this is for. Okay, yeah, that's that, right? Yeah, double check. Good. Until that diagram is in your head so you can mentally, visually project it onto your own fretboard, it's not worth a whole lot. You know, yeah, on a stage performing for people, you're not going to need your scale encyclopedia in front of you, hopefully, right? That needs to be committed to memory. So a big part of it, and that's why we don't try to memorize a million scales either, by the way. Just stick to a few that sound like the way you want your music to sound. Okay, so an intuitive approach that equips you, again, to understand what you're playing. That's what note is this in the scale? What is its relationship to these other notes? What chords is it in? It's the root note of its own chord. It's the third of which other chord? The chord a third down from it. It's the fifth of the chord a fifth down from it. There, like things like that. Understanding why you're playing it. This locks into the harmony. This makes the melody sound resolved. This purposely is not in the chords so that I can create tension, so that I go to the next note over and resolve. So again, that's what I mean by what you're playing and why and how it all fits together. How melodies work within harmony. Melody and harmony are not separate things, unless there is no harmony. Even there, playing a note, playing a melody, the series of notes in the melody create a sense of harmony anyway, so there's no escaping harmony. Unless you're purposely doing atonal 12-tone stuff, then okay, fine, there's the exception. Number 8, I am going to speed this along here, but this is where we're getting into the nitty-gritty of what really helps in the first place. And yes, I am getting, this is very much a promotional point here, but a mechanism for self-accountability. When it's just you, sometimes, you know what you want to do, you know what you want to accomplish, but what's to keep all of this from ending up back on the back burner again? Every one of us has had our goals on the back burner, so let's not pretend it hasn't happened. But if you want to like make a much bigger leap forward, what's to stop that from getting derailed again? Well, having to meet me every week will do it. I'll put a fire under your butt. I'm nicely and supportively, but I'll keep you accountable to yourself. That's a big part of what that's one of the overlooked benefits of lessons in general. And now that I've moved on to something much more based on artist development, it's my job because I want to see you achieve the results you want. So self-accountability is very much part of it. So having someone there that you have to meet again, oh crap, it's been a whole week already, so at least, okay, you know what, this week totally got away from me. That's okay. Here's what we're going to do. That's where it starts. All right. So because there's no point in self-punishing, but making sure that you know, having things in your calendar is one of the best ways to keep yourself accountable to yourself, where someone else shares your goals with you. In fact, having a band can do that too, because you're all working on a shared goal together. So other people are part of the self-accountability mechanism. Number 9, and that is where we're also getting here, is a like-minded community of other shredders and, you know, people who are working towards similar goals, which is what my school is about. So click here to learn more about how to use this practice tool. I think it's helpful. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I that's actually the oldest one too. I put that in there. That's been there since before any of them. The guitar practice whiteboards. It's so easy. That gray color is just like so, with a million other things on the page too, by the way. It is very easy to forget about, but ta-da! Yeah, and I made that quite a few years ago, but yeah, see, it's still on YouTube and everything. But yeah, thank you. I'm glad that you found that useful, and that's something that there's a lot more of that stuff on the way in the ShredMentor TV link here. Let me properly size that. That's what it's supposed to look like. Yeah, the ShredMentor TV link. There's actually a couple new things in there too, by the way, Scott. So it, and I don't know, Dan, if you're watching right now, I don't see you in chat, but you can look at that stuff too. Keep an eye on the ShredMentor TV area, because like the first thing, the guitar practice tools walkthroughs are going to actually be having some new features as I add them, because that's a place I can keep adding video walkthroughs, because I just added a few other things like this simple tuner. I know we're in the age of digital tuners, so this can't really hold a candle to that, but I think it's important to still be able to you know, match a pitch. And some of the students coming on board this week, actually I have a brand new student who's brand new to guitar coming pretty soon, in a couple days. And so this is for all levels, even though it's, you know, it's meant for anybody. And in fact, this whole 3-pillar system, this pipeline to help you go as far as you want, or to address, it's to address the different things that you may want to do. It is not meant to be start here, finish here. Again, it's not up to me to tell you what your goals are. It's up to me to help you achieve them. So that's this system. This system, the Total Artist Development System, is basically just everything I've ever taught as ShredMentor, but now into a coherent system where it's all connected, and I can direct you to where you're trying to go. So the final thing is actually enrolling, actually taking action. This isn't for everybody, but if you are driven to try to push your playing as far as it can possibly go, then I want to talk to you, because you need the burning desire and the vision for what you're trying to achieve, and I'm going to help you achieve that, because you are the curriculum. There's no basis for what we're trying to achieve together until we talk about what your goals are and what your struggles have been and what's been an obstacle for you. So until we know what to overcome and where you're trying to go with it, what you'd ideally like to see yourself doing in every branch of music, whether it's just to play for yourself, or if it's to, you know, just go play at an open mic, or join jams with people, or write your own music and record it all by yourself, or join a band, or audition to be in a band, or, you know, etc., etc., etc. So I've worn a lot of hats. I certainly haven't worn them all, but I've been around the block a little bit, and there's some things I've picked up along the way to make my job easier in each of those cases. And they're not things that I went in knowing. It probably would have been nice if I did. So I'm going to sort of just pay it forward here, and that's a big part of what I'm here to help you do. taking what artist development systems have been and applying it in a lesson type environment. This is basically artist development that's a lot more playing centric, but all that other stuff is still there, making connections in the industry and forging your own sound and getting to know music theory in a way that allows you to forge your own sound and to create constantly, just on the spot, easily. And just a side note about writing, I think everyone eventually, sometimes, writes a dud when it comes to songs. Even hit songwriters, I'm sure they write duds once in a while. We just don't hear them because no one buys them, and they don't probably push their weakest material. They push the good stuff. They sell what they can and get, the hit singers. And frankly, I think some of the duds do make it out there, because who hasn't heard a pop song that really is annoying? So, hey Scott, good to see you here tonight, man. Sorry you have to go, but yeah, so do I actually. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. If you guys are serious about pushing your playing, I do have some openings left. I'm looking to fill up my roster very, very soon, though. Okay, so I know a few of you have been talking about this. If this is something you want to do, I want to help you, but I am going to be trying to very aggressively fill up my student roster right now. So if this is something you're looking to do, actually, I think I have a let me take a look at what the link is. Sorry, it's going to take over the entire page real quick, but yeah, I'm going to just paste this into the chat right now. So go ahead and click on that link just to at least have it opened. This is pretty much the link I was going to send you, Mike, also, but anyway, just in case you don't get it from the chat, I'll send that to you as well. This is basically the sign-up page. This is kind of where I'm going with this. I do feel like I'm moving on from just regular guitar lessons, although all the benefits are still built into this. It's just such a microcosm of what else there is involved, and I feel like I'm abandoning the guitar lessons model, because to me it's just not sufficient to read. And I've sort of done that for a long time, to be fair. So anyway, we can, oh, that doesn't do that. Haha, there you go. Yeah, anyway, a lot of the stuff I've kind of said here is fresh in mind from this. So this is very much trying to push you toward what's going to help you. And so if what you're looking to do is push your playing really, really far, I'm going to show you what I've found to work, and I'm going to give you vocabulary pieces to work with, and I'm going to continually have you actually apply them in a musical situation. So it's not just about exercise mode. People spend so much time in exercise mode. This is not what we want to be doing. We've got to turn it into musical vocabulary. Get musical with it. Anyway, I'm going to leave you with that. Hey, Mike, thank you for your time as well. I'm glad to see you here tonight, and thanks for sending me the email. I will get back to you hopefully later tonight. It'll probably be in the middle of the night, or with the wee hours, like 3 in the morning or something. But I will check it out for your email, and I will send you more information. But yeah, if you want to do this, go ahead and book a call with me using the link on that page, because that's where it all starts. Anyway, thank you all for joining me. If you haven't already, go to the link on the screen right now, or in the chat if you're there. And yeah, if you're looking to really push your playing, or your fluency with improv, and your ability to just spontaneously compose great ideas and strong melodies and catchy melodies even, and complex stuff, even shred on the spot, or start getting into the area where you're actually creating and recording and releasing your own music like you always wanted to, and really create your own sound. This is all included into the total artist development system. So get in touch, and I look forward to talking with you. Anyway, I will be back next week with a functional version of OBS. You notice that it hasn't been lagging and skipping frames this week. I'm very happy about that, but hopefully that keeps going thanks to the Windows update. Anyway, I will see you all next Tuesday next Tuesday night at 8.